All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are we today?
Great.
Great. All right, well, we're going to begin with our centering song. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts and let Spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real and true and free as I continue walking in this mystery.
Right here in this moment, God is. And that presence, that universal force, is what I keep my attention on. The loving presence behind all creation. As my focus deepens, my perception of all life is filtered through the eyes of truth, bringing me into a deeper expression of love and oneness with God at the very center. Now I know this truth for myself, but I see it taking place in the lives of all those beloveds that are here in this room and in the sound of my voice. I know that this presence is always with me and always with my beloveds. God is present and acting on behalf of all creation. One earth, one sky, one people, and one mind. And so it is.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
I want
morning.
to extend a big, warm welcome to everyone who's here in the room with us today, and a very warm welcome to anyone who's joining us online, whether you're joining us live or viewing this at a later time or date. We're so grateful that you've decided to join us. We're so grateful that you've decided to join us in the room today. I'm Reverend Katherine Economou, and I'm joined today by our practitioner of the day, Ann Woodward, who just did a beautiful meditation and prayer. Let us welcome her. And our music director, Danielle Tucker. Are we not falling more and more in love with her every week? Yes. And our amazing accompanist, Randy Montoyo Chai, is with us again. We're so glad you're with us. And this is the team that will present our Sunday service today. We are so excited to be with you. The Center for Spiritual Living, Temecula Valley, is an intentional spiritual community, and we come together to remember that we are each part of this divine life of God. That we have that divine spark within us, and that we are sourced and supported, we are guided, we are loved, we are inspired and cared for by that infinite presence, as long as we allow it into our lives and welcome it and make it welcome and embrace it. And so our goal here is to support us in all living our fullest life, right? What's the word right now? What's the phrase right now? Living your best life, right? You see that everywhere. People put up pictures on Instagram, living my best life. And I'm like, what does that really mean? Oh, right, that's what we teach. We teach how to live your best life, which is to be the fullest expression of who you've come here to be. And to find the love for yourself that the divine has had for you. And so my best wish for you on this day is that there's something in this service that inspires you, that moves you, that opens your heart, and connects you back to this community as we are stepping back into community week by week, getting used to being around one another again. Have you noticed that it's an interesting time as we are starting to learn how to be in relationship again as we're coming back together. So that's what our summer's about, is about moving in that direction and together and celebrating this life. So with that, I want to just warmly welcome you and let you know if you may be joining us for the first time and you're not on our email list, please sign up on our email list. We are sending out one weekly email. I'm very careful about what we do. We send one weekly email out that talks about what's happening at the center and coming up, and I don't want you to miss as we start to put these things back into our schedule. I don't want you to miss it. Someone showed up on the first week and said to me, oh, I didn't even know you guys were doing anything since COVID. And I was like, well, do you get my email? And they were like, yeah, but I don't open it. And I was like, oh, well, you could open the email and then you'll know what we're doing. And so we are doing a lot of wonderful things. So open the email, make sure you're getting it. And with that, we are going to get moving. I think we have a chant.
We do. All right, well,
Let's all stand together, and it is absolutely necessary that you lift your voices and clap along with this one. I know that you'll catch on to the words pretty quickly here. This is Stayed On Spirit. Put your hands clapping just like this. There you go. Make sure you really lift your voices. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on spirit. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on spirit. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. One more verse, here we go. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on spirit. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on spirit. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, nice job, everyone. That's one of my favorite songs. Thank you so much. So this is a time of our moment of gratitude, and I'm going to invite you to, we're going to do a little spiritual practice together, just a little bit here. So I'm going to invite you to just pause and get comfortable in your chair and close your eyes for a second. And so what we try to do in the moment of gratitude is just plant a seed of gratitude in our lives, deepen the energy of it. It's creative, it's inspirational, it's cumulative, so it moves us forward a little bit. And so what I want you to do is just pause here. I'm going to share an idea I had for our moment of gratitude this week. We're sitting here in the end of July, the middle of the summer, and it feels to me like it's starting to move, right? I can feel the end of summer coming. It's almost time to get the kids back to school. So I was driving around this week and
I had the music, the summer music, and for me, it was the 80s, Jack and Diane and all of those really great songs, and I had them blasting in my car with all the windows down and the moonroof open. And the warm night, it was me alone singing really loud. Nobody told me to not sing, right? I had this moment of joy, which reminds me of the summer's past. So what I want you to do for your moment of gratitude today is think about something that you used to do in the summer, some experience of the summer. Maybe it's going to the lake and jumping off the edge of that pier, right? Or sailing, or maybe spending your long days at the beach, so much that the sand exfoliates your feet and you get all puckery from being in the ocean all day. What is it for you that reminds you of summer, that freedom, that joy? I can already see all the smiles on your faces as you start to think of those memories. So just feel that you got to experience that, whether you're experiencing it now or not, that lives within you, that joy lives within you. You can just be grateful for that experience, that opportunity to connect to that essence of summer. And so just breathing that into your heart and allowing it to expand. And again, I encourage you to create a whole bubble of gratitude that you're moving around in. One more nice deep breath. And when you're ready, you can come on back and open your eyes. And I'm going to want to hear about what it was afterwards. So if you want to if you're online, email me a little bit, send me a message about what that summer memory is for you. But after service out on the breezeway, come and tell me and let me know what you remembered and what that feels like for you. So, and with that, we're going to move on to our reading.
Our spiritual reading for today comes from our book for the year, which is the 365 Days of Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. Today's reading is written as an affirmation, and I invite you to take these words within and make them personal for you. I have power. Today I receive my spiritual dominion through the recognition that good alone is real, that God is the only presence and love the only power. Today I rise above the sense of separation into the consciousness of my union with God. Today I understand the power of God flows through me to everything I contact. I am guided by divine intelligence, which goes before me and makes perfect my way. I know that the divine mind operating through me will arrange all my affairs in harmony and prosperity. Divine power flows into my thought and work. Peace and harmony attend everything I do. Love and protection are ever present. I am guided, guarded, and sustained by an everlasting strength, power, and wisdom. And so it is.
The power
take a collective breath, mostly because I need it today. Ready? Together. Nice breath in. And out. Ah, yes. All right, breath is good. So this month we've been talking about how when we're steeped in the divine vision for our lives, we're pulled forward, right? And there's an impulse that comes from within us, which is quite different from the times when we're not connected to the larger vision of our lives, right? Sometimes when we're not connected to the larger vision of our lives, it's easier to tell then, because it feels like we're in the washing machine cycle, the spin cycle of life, right? Or that extra wash cycle where it feels like we're being bumped around. And that's how it feels like when we're not connected to the greater vision, to that greater call from within us, that connection that's bigger than what we think should be happening. Follow me so far?
Yep.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. I've been here this month. You've been here this? All right, good. We're doing the same thing. Okay. So what we've realized in the overall message that I've been trying to get across is that when it comes down to it, it's how we relate to our lives. It's how we relate to God. It's how we relate to those messages that are being given to us. Because we are being presented with messages all the time. We're being presented with that great vision for ourselves. We're being presented with opportunities for our fulfillment and our joy and our love. And then we are being presented with those messages of limitation and lack because we're talking to ourselves. And we're talking to ourselves about what's going to keep us safe and what's not going to put us out too much and what's not going to make us look foolish in front of other people and what's going to allow us to just kind of move forward a little bit but not really make too many waves. But that's not why we're here, right? We're not here to listen to the voices of limitation. We're not here to live a tiny little life. We're not here to hold ourselves back from throwing ourselves into the fullness of our lives. One of my spiritual counselors calls it getting in the center of the river of life. Can you wade into the center of the river of life and allow it to take you where it wants to go and where you want to go? And let me tell you, I have like a whole series based on, earlier in the summer I went whitewater rafting, and so I've been working with that analogy. I think I could do a whole year on river analogy stories, because that river's going to take you. And sometimes there's rocks, and sometimes it's smooth, and sometimes it's peaceful, and sometimes you get stuck in the corner. Yeah, but I'm not going there today. Because what I'm talking about today is the lens through which we're looking at our lives. What lens are you looking through? That's my talk. And so what I want to start with is this. Let's ask some questions. Have you remembered to take the lens cap off so you can see your life? Right? How many times? Because if you have that lens cap on, you're not looking, you can't see. And I remember, do you remember when video cameras first came in, and they were those huge things? It was like boom boxes and video cameras people were carrying around at those times. Don't worry, honey, I'll show you what that is later. Okay? I'll show you what that is. So the first time, I was in high school at the time, and we got our first big video camera, and it was my dance recital time, right? My mom was so proud because she wasn't going to pay that $25 for that video of that they were doing. She was going to video it herself, and she was going to be there to do it, and she was very proud of it. She made a big deal about that, and she was standing up in the middle of the mom's row with her huge video camera, and she sat there with that, and that thing was heavy. Let me tell you, she sat there, and I was in a number of dances, so it was like hours she was doing that, right? She left the lens cap on, and she didn't press the button. Right, so are we doing that in our lives? Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. She watches a lot, so sorry, Mom, but I have to tell the story. So we do that a lot in our lives. We forget to take the lens cap off our life and look around at what else is happening. We forget to allow ourselves to actually open our eyes, and not these eyes. Obviously, we open these eyes when we wake up and we walk through our lives, but we forget to open our spiritual eye to be able to see what's unfolding before us. Are you looking at yourself and your life from a clouded, cracked, tiny little lens? Okay, anybody who has dropped their iPhone knows what I'm talking about, right? There are times when you're trying to get some information, you're trying to take a picture, but your lens is cracked. How clearly can you see? And those are all those limiting thoughts that we put on ourselves. Those are all that I can't do it, I'm not good enough. That's a crack. That's a crack in the matrix of your being. You are capable of all that you want, all that you desire, and more. There is no limitation on you. Only the limitation you put on yourselves. Or do you have one of those really huge telephoto lenses? I was, and it's Olympics time. Are you ready to talk about the Olympics? Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. The Olympics started this week. We sat out in my back and my outside. I have an outside movie theater because I'm not going back to the theater yet. We're doing it outside on Friday nights, and we watched the opening ceremonies and even watching just those countries walking in. And let's face it, it's a little bit boring, but to sit there for hours to watch all the athletes. But I do it because I learn about new countries I've never heard of. Right? Like that's how we learn our geography, and that's how we get that energy of being together. And then I was watching last night with my daughter one of the swimming matches, and I was so excited, and she was like, that guy's not from the United States, and I'm like, I root for everybody. I root for everybody to win. They've worked so hard, and it's just so exciting. But have you seen those cameras right on the side of the sporting events that are so huge that they need their own pole to hold them up? Maybe we're using one of those telephoto lenses that you can see wide. Or are we somewhere far and wide? Or are we somewhere in the middle? What I'm getting at is that often we perceive our experiences and what's going on in our lives through our own understanding, which is limited. Our own lens is limited. But when we understand that, we can open to welcoming some other perceptions in, some other understanding, some other experience that's going to wake us up to, yeah, something else is going on here. This isn't exactly as bad as I thought it was going to be. There's more possibility and potential there right where you are, but sometimes when we get stuck in that experience, when we get stuck in the challenge, we forget to look. We don't take off the lens cap. So this keeps us in a limited rut if we forget every once in a while to widen our view. And so let's face it, every hurt, every disappointment, every challenge that we face, we can sink deeper and deeper into the rut of separation, of limitation, of depression, of lack. And that's the lens through which we see our lives. And we know, as good religious scientists, when you look through a certain lens, that's what you're going to call to you. That's all you're going to see. I'll remind you, I decided I wanted a red car, and all I saw were red cars, right? Everywhere. I thought everybody had a red car, right? If you think of something, then that's what your attention is focused on. So if your attention is focused on the fact that you believe you're not good enough, or that you're not lovable, or that you're a lost cause, that's all that you're going to see. And it's not that those, like on the highway, the other color cars were there. Even those weird orange ones or neon green. Who buys the neon green cars? Who does? I'm sorry if you did. Tell me it's you. I'd like to go for a ride in it. Okay. Did I catch myself back? Okay, good. I want to make welcome everyone, even people who like neon green cars. That's my goal. But that's the idea, right? When you start to see through that lens of limitation, all you're going to do is see that limitation. When you start to see yourself through that lens of limitation, that's all you're going to see. But that's not all that is there. There is so much more right in front of you, and opportunity and possibility and capability within you, that you are able to step forward when we widen our lens. It's just like in photography. I'm starting to learn about photography a little bit, and the lens makes all the difference. It really does. And so this presents an interesting conundrum for us, right? Because how can we widen the lens of our own perception? How can I do that? If I perceive the world through my own perception, how can I widen it? How do I do that? Well, that's the power of walking a spiritual path, of committing oneself to a greater understanding of ourselves and of life and of God. And this is what we're here for. This is why, this is our wheelhouse. This is what we do. To remember that there's so much more happening around us than we know. To realize that we could ever know. There's more than we could ever know. I found a quote from an author named Christopher Jones, and he said, and I chose to do this quote in a Sunday service. I consciously chose, just so you know, setting you up here. All right, Christopher Jones said, "The biggest idiot you'll meet in this life will be the person that thinks they know it all." I tried to find a nicer way of that quote, but you know what? I think that hits it home. The biggest idiot you'll ever meet in life will be the person who thinks they know it all. And then Robert Jordan said that you can never know everything, and part of what you know is always wrong. A portion of wisdom lies in knowing this. A portion of courage lies in going on anyway. How can we step forward realizing there's no way I could know it all, there's no way I could be totally right, and all of those, that's the issue with conflict, is that we all have a perception of what happened and we've got all different stories, right? But how can we step forward and just being okay with knowing that, I don't know everything, there's something else that's operating in this. So this and, right? It's the energy of this and, what we know, and being open and willing and courageous to allow for more information, a new perspective, a new perception to arrive in our experience. When we live our lives understanding this, we're planting the seeds of expansion, of awakening, and of evolution, of evolving. We have come to evolve, not to get to a certain level and be, I've arrived. Let me tell you, you haven't arrived yet because you're still here. You're still evolving, you're still unfolding, you're still able to reveal more gifts and more opportunities and more joyful experiences and expressions. And I want to remind you that it takes a moment for us to realize that, to shift and realize that life is there for us. And that there's always an opportunity to hit a greater viewpoint. And so I was reminded of, I took a trip years and years and years and years and years ago to the Grand Canyon for the first time. Well, it's the only time I've ever been there. And I was so excited, and I was with a boyfriend at the time who was not excited about being at the Grand Canyon. I couldn't understand, and let me tell you, that was the beginning of the end. Because if you're not in awe of the Grand Canyon, I don't know who you are. And I didn't want to be with that person anymore. So we got to the Grand Canyon, and I was like, look at that, oh my God, it's amazing. And then you drive along that road on the southern rim, and you stop at the next viewpoint. Oh, look at that, it's so amazing. And he's like, it's the same thing. And I'm like, no, let's go again. And so we went to the next one, and I was like, oh, and I wanted to meditate, and I wanted to sing to the canyon, and I wanted to dance, and I did dance out there, and he was just kind of like, okay. And I finally said, no, one more. He was like, we're going, because you know where he wanted to go? He wanted to go to Vegas. And I was like, no, I don't want to go to Vegas yet, I want to be here. So I said, one more, can we just have one more? And he's like, fine, Katherine, fine. So we drove into this last view spot, and we walked out, and it was around a corner a different way. I didn't understand how this happened, but I'll never forget it. And you had to kind of hike around the corner to get to the viewing spot, and there was nobody there because it was like after a series of them, and it was out around a corner, and we were the only ones there, and it was the most magnificent view. I felt like I was standing in the canyon, in the air, and even he was speechless, right? And I was like, see, trust me, but it was that extra view. We have to be open and willing to be present enough to see the view, right? He just wasn't present. He was where he wanted to be. He wanted to get to where he wanted to go. He wasn't present enough with what was happening in the moment. Are we able to be present enough in the moment in our lives to get that magnificent view? There's a story about a church director, a youth director, who needed some supplies from the Sunday school cupboard that wasn't used very often, and it was locked with a combination lock. And this youth director she was new, and she didn't know the combination. She asked everybody in the church, and nobody had it. And so she went to the priest and said, I don't know what to do. And he said, well, let me help you out. So he went in and offered to give it a try. So he placed his fingers on the lock dial, and he took a deep breath. And then he looked up to the heavens and closed his eyes. And then he looked up in reverence. And the youth director was so amazed, and he looked down and he spun the dial and the lock opened. And she was like, oh my God, wow, it's a miracle, that's amazing. That's really wild, how'd you do that? See the combinations on the ceiling? She looked up and she was like, oh my God, there it is, Are we present to what's in front of us? Are we present to seeing what is really before us? Sometimes we need to slow down to take in the sight, to be present with what's in front of us, so that we can take in the full experience of life before us. And this is what we do with our spiritual practice. You knew I was headed in this direction. The way that we expand our consciousness, the way that we expand our perception and our view is through our spiritual practices, through our connecting each day to the energy of the Spirit, through our meditation, through our prayer work, through our morning pages, through our yoga, through even conscious movement. There's so many different ways, and the idea is that we need to keep ourselves connected. We need to keep ourselves steeped in that presence, steeped in that understanding of Spirit is always with us. You know, one of the analogies that works for me that is very simplistic, but I learned it, at the beginning of my Science of Mind study, is the fact that the sun is always there even on a cloudy day. Now, I know we're in Southern California. We don't understand those things that get in between the sun and us are called clouds. And sometimes they actually have water in them, and that's called rain. I know we don't remember what that is yet, but we've got another month and we will hopefully have some come through here. But that worked for me. Can you tell I'm a little punchy this morning? That's why I'm doing all this. But so it worked for me to really remember that the sun is always shining even on a cloudy day. Now I know it's a very simplistic concept, but try to remember that life is there for you when you're in the middle of a challenge. Try to remember that God loves you when you've gotten a really tough diagnosis. Try to remember that God's love is the only truth of your life and that God loves you so much when your lover just left. It's hard to remember that, isn't it? It can be challenging to remember that life is for us, that the presence of Spirit is ever there, wanting to support us, wanting to bring us all that we want, give us a fulfilling experience. But you know what? Sometimes we can't remember that because it hurts and because it's hard. And so that's why we do our spiritual practice. That's why we connect every day to the divine. That's why I do our moment of gratitude, for us to remember those things that we have to be grateful for, because we always have something to be grateful for. And you can always find something more to be grateful for. And when you plug into that, then that path starts moving. Then those challenges start, you rise above the challenge and you can start to handle it a little bit easier. And you start to see more possibility and more opportunity. That's what happens when you get grounded in your spiritual practice. And that's what happens. We become what we call prayed up in the biz. We call being prayed up. And what that means is that you're so steeped in your practice. You're so steeped in your knowing. You're so connected to the fact that there's a power and a presence for good in the universe and you can use it. That you're so connected to this that when those challenges hit, you float. I'm going back to my river analogy again. Then you can just float. And yes, it may get a little rocky, but instead of getting bumped around, you're having fun. Because you know that there's still joy there for you, even in the darkness. Even in the difficulty, there's love there for you. Even when you feel alone. There's a part of you that knows that you're not. You may be feeling alone, but there's a part of you deep that realizes that you know deep down inside you are not alone, that there's something that loves you so much. And it's the presence of God. And so, and let's face it, sometimes, going back to the cloudy thing, we get spiritual sad, right? There's this thing in the Pacific Northwest, they have a lot more cloudy days than we do, and they have a lot more of that water stuff than we do, and they get seasonal affective disorder, right? That there are people who don't see the light for so long that their moods change, they get depressed, they have physical ramifications from it, right? It's a thing. We all bought those light bulbs. We all bought the full spectrum light bulbs, right? To try to avoid getting sad in Southern California, which just cracks me up because we don't really get that here. But still, that's what it was a thing, But I don't think it's seasonal affective disorder right now that we get. I think it's spiritual affective disorder that we get. We get depressed, feeling separate and alone. And we can allow ourselves to just sink into that and pretend that everything's good. I'm fine, it's fine. But deep inside we're feeling that hollowness, that sadness, that separation. And the only thing that heals that, the only thing that's going to shift that for us, it's what? It's the light. The light is the thing that cures sad in the Pacific Northwest or those areas that have more days of darkness. But it's the light of God, that light of awareness, that light of understanding, that light of love. Spirit is the light. And that's what's going to heal it for us. From Psalm 18:28. You, Lord, keep my lamp burning. My God turns my darkness into light. And from John 8:12, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. When we remember that the kingdom of heaven is within, when we remember that we are one with all of life, as those lessons that Jesus taught, when we follow him, when we live his teachings, what happens happens is that we welcome the light. We can expand our perception. We can see differently. We can know differently. There is light in this life, and it's God expressing, and it's right there where each of us are. And just, I'm going to remind you, just as we were all inspired by that amazing, beautiful, gorgeous woman in a yellow suit on Inauguration Day, Amanda Gorman said, "For there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it." Can we trust the light? Can we trust and welcome the light into our lives and clear the lens so that we can actually see it? So what I'm suggesting for this week is that for us to be deliberate about what lens we're using to look at our lives. To wake up to see, am I looking at my life through the lens of the judgment I'm holding on myself and all those choices I made all those years ago? Am I looking through the lens of possibility and potential of what wants to be born in me and be created and come forward through me? Or somewhere in between? My goal for us is that this is a summer of releasing all of our limitations, releasing those judgments that we hold on ourselves, giving ourselves a break and stepping forward into the fullness of who we've come here to be. And you know what? Having some fun doing that. So if you want to go to the southern rim of the Grand Canyon and dance in front of 50 people, have at it. You'll bring a whole heck of a lot more joy to those people than probably going from place to place and standing next to everybody and taking the same picture. Do you have all those pictures of this? It's the same. It does look like the same picture from place to place. But when you look out, it's different. So I asked Danielle to sing Stayed on Spirit today for our congregational song for a couple of reasons. One is that it's my favorite congregational song. I love it. I've loved it since we've been doing it. It's one of my favorite. It's a great song. And the other reason was that it's the message for the day, because when we keep our minds on God, then there's joy in your life, and life is good. That's the main message for the day. When you keep your mind on God, when you keep your eyes on God, when you stayed on Spirit, all is good. And you get to jam a little bit, which is good too. But the third reason is this. I'm a little tricky here. Because it's my wish it's my intention that as you go through your day later today and tonight, maybe even tomorrow, that song's going to be going through your head. And you know what? It becomes an affirmation. So when you wake up tomorrow morning and you hear, hopefully not in my voice, because you want it in Danielle's voice, not mine. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. You start every day with that. See how your life changes. If you start every day waking up in gratitude for being alive, for knowing that God's alive in your life, and knowing that something's going to thrill you in that day, and then your feet hit the floor, I want to see what that day is going to be like for you, because it's going to be a lot different than if you didn't do that. Because when you put this on the spiritual lens of your life, you see differently. And I'm calling this putting on the lens of reverence. I think that we should put on the lens of reverence. And that we should realize that, there's a saying that everything's spiritual or nothing is spiritual, right? Everything is spiritual. It is, I'll just tell you. There's no question of it. It's just all spiritual. And so when we can put on that lens of being reverent to the fact that this is a spiritual life that we're living, then we're steeped in the Spirit. So I have a new TV obsession I thought I'd share. As I shared earlier in the summer, we went whitewater rafting. And it was a bucket list thing for me. It was the first time I had done it. And I'm so interested in these lives that these people are living, such different lives, right? So one of our guides was a survivalist. And you could tell, I'm just looking at him, right? You could tell this guy could go out in the middle of the woods and just with a stick and he could make a palace. You knew it. Like, this guy was so cool and he knew what he was talking about. And so we were talking and he was telling me about the TV show that shows what they do. So there's a show called Alone. And so I kind of binged. There's a couple of nice people get this. So what they do in Alone is that they take 10 people and they put them out in the middle of nowhere with 10 items. And whoever lasts the longest wins, right? Okay, so that's basically the premise. Now, and they don't do anything other than they just have to survive. And there's not a camera crew there. They have their own cameras. So they are really alone. For like, the first one I watched, the guy went 53 days alone. And that's one thing, right? But what I've been interested in this is that, first of all, I need to let you all know, we are living a very easy life. right? Because we get to go and have food and water. We can turn the tap on and have water. And so just what has to happen in order for them to like survive, right? Food, water, shelter, safety, right? So and there's like bears and wolves and things. It's like freaking me out. And I'm on TV with my feet up eating popcorn. You know, is what I was doing. But anyway, so this is the story. Is that it showed so how much it takes to be alive. And what these survivalists do is like like they have to hunt and they fish and they clean it and they gut it and they show it and they take care of it and then they cook it and they eat it, right? And so it doesn't matter if it's a moose or a porcupine or a squirrel or a mouse. Every single person I saw on this show who made a kill stopped and said a prayer of gratitude. And they cried. They don't want to kill the animals. They don't want to hunt, but they have to, right? And there was this acknowledgement that the life of the animal was going to allow them to stay alive. And the truth is, in those situations, they really did. And so what it did for me, what it showed me is that, you know, we say a blessing of gratitude before every meal, right? Now I really understand why we do that. Like, I mean, obviously, I've always taught my family that we're grateful for all the hands and the hearts that have processed the food, and from the field to the animals to the processing to all of it. Like, we've always acknowledged that. But do you really know how much it takes for us to have what we have, and how reverent we need to be? Because we get to be alive, and it's a miracle. And so I'm encouraging us to start to just look through the eyes of reverence at all those conveniences and all those things that we have and all those things that we experience that are so easy for us that maybe we've been taking for granted a little bit. Because we could be grateful, but man, we got it really good. And I am so amazed by that. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, said that we are in the water of infinite life as the fish is in the ocean. The spirit of life is all around us. It flows through us. It permeates everything. And he says that there is a center in you that already knows. Develop the consciousness that flows from that center, for it is the secret place of the Most High within you. So realizing that we are one with life, and that place of knowing, that secret place of the Most High is at the center of our being, that's where we want to put our attention. That's where we want to see from. We want to steep ourselves in that knowing that we are connected and allow it to come forward. We're immersed in the Spirit. It's all around us, and sometimes we just forget. We can't see it like that fish can't see the water. That's why it's important to get prayed up, to be immersed in it, and to allow that to be your guiding force. So when we look at our lives through the eyes of reverence, the lens of reverence, we're inviting the Spirit to be present with us each and every day. And like I said, it raises us up and it allows us to flow over the difficulty and the challenge in an easier way. It gives us the perspective to see something else is operating alongside of us. So my intention for us, my invitation for us is to clean that lens, is to pick the appropriate one, clear it up, clean it, and take the lens cap off. Because as you look around your life, you'll see the blessings that are there, and all that you need is already coming forth in your experience. And so now it's time to just lay back and enjoy it and welcome it in. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you, Katherine. I brought my youngest daughter with me today. This is Anna. And I have one other daughter, Ashley, who's 8 years old, and she's at home today. But talk about changing your lens when you become a parent. And I was so grateful that I had two daughters because I feel like they have been a mirror to my soul in my life. They've shown me the best in me, they've shown me the worst in me. And I've just learned that when I can see that young child in myself, and I look at my daughters and love them with all my heart. To me, they're perfect, they're whole, they're beautiful, they're innocent, they see everything with fresh eyes, everything is new to them. And it just reminds me that that young girl is still in me too. And I try to come back to that practice and remember that as much as I can. So I hope that this song will connect you to your young girl or your young man. Young girl, don't cry. I'll be right here when your world starts to fall. Ooh. Young girl, it's alright. Your tears will dry. You'll soon be free.
be able to not cry. Okay. So this is a time of our service when we have the opportunity to participate in sacred giving. And so I am going to talk first before I invite the ushers to come forward. So we have been trying to get back up and running here at the center. And I've had some encouragement to just explain where we are and how things have been. And if you've known me at all, I try to be transparent and let everybody know where we are as often as I can. So this is a scoop. Over the last year, our Sunday donations have gone down 35%. And we were fortunate enough to maintain through COVID, through the pandemic, through the quarantine, and we moved out of the really expensive building and had to hang over the debt that we owed from that, and got through that, which is great. And we are coming back together here, and our donations have still been down 30%. And so as we're moving into this time of coming back together, we're starting to see it step up just a little bit, and we're moving into this time of knowing that we're rebuilding. This is a coming back together situation. We are rebuilding our community. We are moving forward, and I'm just letting you know we want to do that in prosperity and in abundance and in joy, with the ability to staff the community the way it needs to be staffed, and to have a full, fulfilling experience here at church. And so we're just making it. That's where we're at, just so you know. We have just been making it. We're down for the year at this point, but we were planning on being a little bit down for the year right now. And knowing that as we move through the rest of the year, that we're catching up and we're expanding and it's going forward. But we're going to need help doing that. So my request is to be prayerful and conscious about how you are giving and what you're comfortable with giving. I'm always asking people to be prayerful about this. We teach tithing, which is giving back to that place where you're spiritually fed and inspired. We know that as we give to that which inspires us, it opens that channel of giving and receiving, and our lives become more abundant and prosperous and joyful. And as you each practice it to the level that you're comfortable with, then it operates in your life. And so this is a time for us to reevaluate all the different things that are going on in our lives, right? And that's the request, is to reevaluate the level of where you are in giving and what you believe in and what you want to see grow and expand, because we know that we put our time, our energy, our money, and our talents in the direction of what we believe in and what we want to see more of. And so it's my best wish that you're here, and that maybe this is something, this is a God-ordained endeavor that we want to see grow, and we want to see expand, and we want to see get back on its feet and start to evolve and expand. And we can do that just with our regular programs, just with our class offerings and all of that. We have an opportunity to start to move back into the fullness of church, right? It was so when we have a full spiritual community up and running, it's fun, right? To get to choose what you want to do during the week. We have meditations, and we have classes, and we have workshops, and we have social events, and we have connection groups, and we have opportunities to do spiritual practice. We are a center for spiritual living, and that means I want to see us here every night. I want us to take over the building and to be here every night and have offerings for all sorts of different things. And we have a little ways to get there. I'm a little impatient. We kind of want to get there, but we're moving in that direction. So just in general, I want to let you know where our regular donations have been at. Because we had a great opportunity come into our experience. We have been granted a $5,000 matching funds grant from the Hefferlin Foundation. The Hefferlin Foundation is a spiritual foundation that supports the growth of science of mind in the world. And we put in an application for a grant for them for our technology, because as we've moved into this new space, we need to refit it with sound, and obviously with our technology, which you've experienced today, and with our friends online have experienced today. And so we've been borrowing a sound system from Danielle, and we've been live streaming from my iPad, and we're doing PowerPoint from my projector, right? And so the church doesn't have the electronics to be able to outfit our community in the way that it is right now for itself. And that's what we want to see happen. And so we have been granted this opportunity. If we raise $5,000, we get $5,000 immediately. And so we are asking for you to consider giving an above and beyond. That's why I said what I said first, is that we still need the donations to keep our operations going. But if you are able to join us in an above and beyond gift towards that $5,000, that gift immediately doubles because they're going to match it. And with that, if we can fulfill this quickly, then we can integrate our sound. We could get a sound person to arrange the whole thing. We could have our own sound system, and we could be live streaming from our mic straight through the sound so that our online services aren't mumbled or jumbled. And that we know that it won't take too much to outfit this new space, this new room. But let's face it, it's a setup and a takedown situation every week. So what we had for the old space was installed, right? And it's not appropriate for here. And so we need to move forward in a new way. And so we are inviting you to be prayerful, be conscious. And if you are able to stand up and help us reach that $5,000 goal, we want to hit it before August 1st. We just want to, a one and done. Let's get that so that we can spend this month getting ready for our big kickoff in September. And so with that, I'm going to invite our ushers to come forward and say thank you to our volunteers. And let everybody catch up and take a breath. And I'm going to take my offering and I'm going to put it upon my heart, invite you to do the same, and let us breathe our light and our love into this moment. Knowing that God is right here. That infinite presence that has the thought of CSL TV as a center of light and of love, of inspiration, of joy, of comfort, and of peace. I know that this offering moves to allow for this spiritual community to come into its fullest expression, to reach its arms wide, to embrace and enfold all in this light and in this love. And so I know that this opportunity of moving forward with our technology happens with ease and with grace from the abundance of the divine. And it moves through each of us into this experience in that light and in that love. And so I bless it, I give thanks for it. Surrendering my word, I allow it to be, and so it is. So we're going to say our affirmation of abundance together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Yes.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need.
Great. All right, so I have some reminders of events coming up. Just so you know, our Science and Men book study continues on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. To noon online. Pam Igliosi's the contact for that. Our men's ministry and our women's ministry, we all know this, I've been saying it every week. Our men's ministry meets weekly on Wednesday mornings, both online and in person. And our Sisters in Spirit group meets on the first and third Thursdays of the month. The first is online, the third is at Journeys. Pam Igliosi is in charge of that. Reverend Michael Summers is in charge of the men's group. Our CSL TV Community Connection online happens on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. This is a time, we're having some fun with this. I'm going to invite you to come join us because we finally got together what we're doing in this space, and it's really fun. We get on for an hour and we talk about the concepts from today's talk and how we can really live it more. And so it's a group process to support each other in the specific ways of what's going on in your life. So you do a little bit of a check-in, we do some spiritual practice. It's an hour, and it's a way to stay connected and to connect. It's like a small sacred circle. So we encourage you to join us. That's on Zoom, and that information's on Facebook and on the link is on Facebook and the website. Let's see. We have a new 5-week Science of Mind certificated class. It's starting in August in person here at the center. I'm so excited. This is called Principles and Practices. Yes? Principles and Practices class with practitioner Beth Haas. There's a lot of P's in that. Okay, Principles and Practices with Beth Haas. It's a foundational level class, and it's using Ernest Holmes' book, This Thing Called You, which is one of my favorites. I give that out to people when they first show up because it's the best entrance into the science of mind. You'll learn about setting intentional goals and using spiritual mind treatment to manifest, using prayer to demonstrate and manifest in your life. You'll learn about meditation and mindfulness, visioning, and you'll learn the art of compassion and gratitude as daily practices. So it's a really great, easy way. It's 5 weeks, and it's a wonderful refresher too if you've been here for a while, or if you're relatively new, it's a really great step into our classes. Now, Science of Mind is a wonderful philosophy, and it's great on Sundays, but it shines in the classes. And if you haven't taken a Science of Mind class, this is the way to really make great change in your life. And to get back in the room together to support each other in doing that is really exciting. So I encourage you to do that. There's a sign-up sheet outside, or you could call the office. It's 5 Tuesday evenings, 6 to 9, starting August 17th through September 14th. And it's in person here. So we're excited about that. Thank you, Beth, for doing that. So I want to remind you that we're still collecting food for the Community Mission of Hope. We're doing that ongoing. Our goal is to donate a ton of food this year. And so you can bring that in on Sundays or call the office to make sure that Diane's here if you want to drop something through here during the week, and we deliver it to them. It feels really good to be a sustaining support for our local organization. And that's one of the things, when we show up, they're like, oh, here comes CSL TV, and I love that. I love that we're known for being really generous and supporting, and we have chosen food insufficiency as the main thing we're starting with to be of service in the community. And so we encourage you to bring food in, and you can drop it off in the office with Diane. And we're still looking for volunteers if you want to step up and support in any of the teams on Sunday. We're putting things together, and like I said, we're kind of doing a bare bones Sunday experience through August, and then we're going to kick it off in September with a big celebration on Labor Day weekend, but we want to have all of church back in at that point. So we are looking for youth team, we are looking for teen support, we are looking for hospitality support, we're looking for more ushers and greeters, and just support. If you want to step up and be a volunteer on Sunday, it's a really great way to meet people, to connect, and to be of service. So we encourage you. You can talk to Diane in the office. There's a sign-up sheet out there also. So the last thing I have to tell you about is this. How do I want to do this? I guess I need to think about this. All right, so ministers are tired. Okay, that's what we're going to start with. Ministers are tired. If you've seen any memes on Facebook from any of my minister groups, you would see that all the ministers across the denominations have been working really hard for a year here, year and a half here. So one of the things that we were working towards is that I was going to take my sabbatical this year. Since I started 8 years ago, it was in my contract that I accumulated a week per year towards a sabbatical, 6 weeks of sabbatical that I could take. And we had planned 2 years ago for me to take my sabbatical this summer. I was going to be in Europe for the whole summer and write a book. It was going to be really great. I was going to turn 50 and leave and be gone for a little while. And it was all set up. We were heading towards that. And then COVID happened. And the way that the board keeps telling me, no, you're going to take it, no, keep taking it, you're going to take it. But then the opening got pushed back and back and back, and we didn't open until July. And so what we've decided is that I'm going to take part of my sabbatical and part of my vacation this year, and then I'm going to do the remainder of it next summer. And so this summer, I'm going to be gone for the month of August. I'm going to step out on vacation and use the time to rest and rejuvenate, and because I just want to remind you that the first 8 months of this, the 9 months of this, when we were doing service from my living room, I wasn't able to take a Sunday off, right? Because it was in my living room. And it would be weird to have someone come into my house when I wasn't there. So we went for 9 months without a week off. We went for a bunch of time with just a little bit here and there. And the board is really wanting to support me in coming back to full health, to wholeness, to a really great expression, and to be ready for this next experience. So I am going to be stepping out for a month. I've got 5 great speakers coming in. We have our ministerial team, Reverend Michael Summers, and our ministerial intern, Charlene Kusner, who are going to step in to be the ministerial presence. And we've got amazing people set for our Sunday services. And this is my request. I need you to still come. And I need you to still give to the center. Or else I know that I'm not the right person to be here. Because we don't want this to be a personality-based church. We want this to be a community church where we all have something to give. And I love that you all like me, and I love that you all want to be here when I'm here to speak, but I really have been thoughtful about who's speaking and about the messages that they're bringing into you for this next month, and I really want you to benefit from them. And so please show the community, show me that you love me enough to support the speakers that are coming in and to support the community so I can really let go, because if anybody knows me too, it's really hard for me to let go because I'm a little bit of a want to do everything and make it okay for everyone. I need to let go and let the leadership step into leadership here, and that's why we need the support, right? So are you with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, are you going to support our speakers?
Yeah.
Are you going to come to church?
Yeah.
Are you going to still give?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then we're good. And then my plan is to get really rested and get really energized and then come back in September and let's have some fun this fall. Let's plan some new programs and do some new things, and some new exciting stuff's coming forward. And I can't wait to see, and I can't wait to do that with you, because it's my joy to support you in going back to the beginning of the service and living your best life. And that's what I really want for all of us. And so with that, we are going to pray. I'm going to invite my practitioners to stand who are here, remind you that they're available for prayer after service out on the breezeway, and they would love to be there for you. So just breathing and pausing and remembering that God is here in this moment. There is only one power, one presence, one light, one life, one truth. It is the truth of my being as it is the truth of each and every one of us. For within the sound of my voice and beyond, we are connected in this life, and this light that is God. And so I know on this day, as I speak this word, I know that there is a joy in realizing the light, in seeing clearly the amazing gift of this life, seeing through the eyes of reverence and realizing that everything is unfolding in that divine perfection and that wholeness for our goodness, for our power, for our presence and our joy. And so everything aligns to this. Any sense of limitation or lack, any old story fades away. Any perceived obstacle is simply falls and crumbles before us. Because when we look through the lens of the divine, there is expansion, there is possibility, there is potential, and there is power in love. And so I bless it, I call it forth, I celebrate it, I give thanks for it, and allow it to be, for I know it is so. And so it is.
So it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. And this is what you've got to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my heart, and my heart is always wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
And as we step forth in this week, we open the lens wide and take in the joy of life. And so it is.
So it is.
Happy Sunday,